Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hearthstone PAX East Major presented by One Nation of Gamers. My name is TJ. Once again, I am joined by That's Admirable for the final day of play here at the PAX East Major. That's Admirable. How you doing this morning, man?
Doing fantastic. It's been a long weekend at Hearthstone so far, but we got a few more matches if we're going to crown ourselves a champion. That's exactly what I want to see today. TJ, I hope you got a little bit of rest yesterday because we got quite a few matches today.
Ooh, baby. Yesterday we had 10 hours of matches, and today we're going to have almost as much. Of course, we're going to be broadcasting the top 16 and onwards today. And like I mentioned at the end of it all, we will be crowning a winner. We will be giving away that $10,000 prize pool, and we will be giving away those 43 Hearthstone Championship Tour points. I know the cutoff is coming relatively quickly. I think it's like the first week of May or something like that for the spring. So got to get in those Hearthstone Championship Tour points while you can. Of course, throughout the day, and like we've been doing throughout the entire weekend, we will be doing the Cyber Power Gamer Extreme 1000 PC giveaway. So make sure you're heading on over to the website, which is right in the middle of the screen there, geico.onog.gg, or clicking on one of the banners below and entering to win that sick PC. Also, like we've been talking about over the course of the weekend, the 2016 circuit for the One Nation of Gamers is still ongoing. There's still 6 open tournaments left. There's still 3 feature tournaments left, and there's still the grand finals at PAX. So if you want a chance at being a part of that, you can sign up for the Open. The next Open is in 6 days. It does happen on April 30th. So if you want to sign up for the Open, also head over to that website. I know I'll be playing in it. I know Admirable will be playing in it. Admirable actually got really far in one of the weeks and almost qualified to go to the PAX Prime finals. Was that a good experience for you, Admirable?
Yeah, it was sweet to play in. There was just the fact that it was a tournament was kind of a nice change of pace for me. I hadn't played them in quite a while, and then kind of getting back into things, it was awesome to be a part of. But yeah, for the opens, I wish I'd had more opportunities to play these things. I've been so busy, and I actually have casting coming up on that weekend, so I can't play in that one. I really wanted to.
Yes. More for me.
TJ fist bumps. Playing in those is just such a blast. I mean, the opportunity to play against anyone else who wants to compete is always something I've really enjoyed. So much so that it's been a large part of my life over the past 20 years. There's countless number of tournaments that I've played, and look where I am right now. Dude, this is a full-time job. But yeah, if you guys want to compete in this stuff and you've been thinking about it, you're like, I'm not really sure if I want to. It's kind of a serious environment. Honestly, it's really not as serious as you think it is. And there's a little bit of money on the line. I mean, this is kind of like the starter tournament, get your feet wet. This isn't like you're on stage, there's cameras everywhere, there's lights blaring down, there's thousands of people watching. This is you find someone else who wants to have an opponent, and you play a best of 5 versus them. And that's really what it's all about.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's sort of a little bit of starter tournament, but it's also $1,000 prize pool for each of these opens. And if you win, it leads into the feature tournament, which has a $6,000 prize pool. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the grand finals at PAX Prime in August, which has a $25,000 prize pool. And also the Hearthstone Major that we've been broadcasting this weekend, that will be concluding today with us casting in here. The winner also gets a spot at that $25,000 grand final. So not only do they get a large chunk of that prize pool, they also get invited to another tournament with an even bigger prize pool towards the end of the year. So it's all great fun, and I'm looking forward to it today. But we also want to make sure that we give a big thanks to the sponsors that make this possible. Of course, GEICO Gaming, the Video Game Voters Network, who have been with us for the season. Of course, CyberPower PC, DX Racer, and the Asus Republic of Gamers for hopping on for the hardware side of the things for PAX East this weekend. But let's start talking about the first matchup. That's enough blabbing off. It is going to be Nostam taking on SuperJJ. This one's 2 known players, so this one should be good.
Yeah, this is a match where it's kind of like a professional who's been around the scene for a little while with SuperJJ. Late in 2015, he picked up a couple wins with Time to Win Invitational and Seat Story Cup 4. And Nostam, I know I'd seen his name around quite a bit, but it wasn't really until recently people started paying very close attention to this guy. He just got second at America's Championship at Winners Championship for North America. And since then, it seems like every single time I log on, this guy's got a single-digit legend number next to his name.
Yeah.
Like every single time I log on. Like at the beginning of week number 1 of the season, the guy's already legend. And then as that season goes on, he continues to maintain a rank like that. And that's a true amount of dedication to the game. Obviously, if you get second at a major tournament like that, that's a usually a pretty big fire starter for you. You go, hey, you know what? Maybe this is a real thing, and I can keep going at this. Really curious to see what he can put up. The fact that he's made top 16 at this event as well, these are the kinds of things that make someone a good player, is when they can consistently put up these top 16 and top 8 results in these giant open fields.
Yeah, and PAX he's no stranger to PAX tournaments. Last year at PAX East, he played in the Collegiate League, the first ever TESPA Collegiate League. Then the next, in the next couple months, he played in at the PAX Prime One Nation of Gamers circuit for last year. So this guy is no stranger to PAX tournaments. Now he's at the major at PAX East once again. So maybe PAX is sort of his lucky charm, I suppose, moving forward. And SuperJJ, of course, we saw SuperJJ play earlier in the week. SuperJJ is one of the rising stars, I think, from Europe. He's ranked very highly. If you talk to a lot of pros over there, they consider him one of the best players in the game right now. And especially with Rogue being one of his specialty decks, that's a deck that, if you can pilot that well, that deck can take you places.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult one to play. I mean, the fact that you have to mold your game plan kind of draw by draw as you go along. It doesn't really have a set defined thing that the deck does. I take a look at Druid, for instance. Druid's got a pretty linear strategy for the most part. You play guys on curve, start hitting him in the face. You get a guy on board and force Nature Savage Roar and combo him out of the game. For Rogue, it's kind of like, do I really need to eviscerate this now? Should I hold on to this eviscerate so I can save it for face later? What's the earliest I can use my sap? It's a lot of different questions that are more of like a momentum and ebb and flow sort of thing in the game. The decisions on a turn-by-turn basis are a lot harder. But the philosophy of your game approach, that's the other thing about it too, is like Rogue can have a lot of different ways to actually play each individual game. So understanding which one of those strategies is best, and then also understanding your turn-by-turn strategies, that's what makes it so difficult.
Yeah, very true. And we should be jumping into the match momentarily here. I think the players have started, but we just have a bit of a spectator bug, so we're going to wait just a few moments before we jump in. But like we said, top 16 is going to be today. There's still quite a bit of known players left in the tournament. We have Amnesiac, Firebat, Orange, Calento, of course, Nostam, SuperJJ. But, even cooler than the known players is some of these unknown players that we've seen maybe start to make a name for themselves in this tournament. But we'll have to see as the day goes on. We are jumping in to game number 1 of match number 1 of the day. This is Nostam versus SuperJJ in the round of 16.
Yeah, to kind of give you an idea of how stacked this top 16 actually is, if you break down the players who are in this top 16 and look at their lifetime winnings, you're looking at about $450,000 in lifetime winnings and about 20 tournament wins among the 16 players that are here. And this is with 6 or 7 of them not having a detailed Hearthstone career profile that I could locate.
Yeah. Which is incredibly impressive for an open tournament. Shows you the consistency of play. We're sort of at the end of a meta right now, so I would hope that these guys over time would have been able to master the gameplay. But it's been cool that we've actually seen quite a big variety of decks. But we're going to jump into this first game, which is not that big of a variety of a deck, with SuperJJ playing that Patron War that we saw yesterday. And Nostam, this will be the first time we've seen him on stream, but he's playing Secret Paladin, one of the minority.
Well, not only that, I'm really surprised that he's playing Secret Paladin, because this is actually one of the decks that he targeted at North American Championships. And then furthermore, when I spoke with him after the event, this was kind of a deck he didn't really like that much. Mm-hmm. He said he didn't feel like it gave him a lot of decisions to make. He didn't feel like he got to use what was one of his most impactful points of his gameplay, he felt, which was building a lineup. So if he's bringing Secret Paladin to an event like this, it's got to be something to do with how it fits into his overall game plan, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and there are quite a few of his team members. He's on GNC, Grand National Champions, also a teammate of mine. His team likes to play Secret Paladin a lot, especially one of his teammates, Lead Pain, or Frank, loves to play Secret Paladin. And so they might have influenced decisions a little bit, because those guys practice together every single day. And they're sort of like a collective mind when it comes to what decks they're bringing to tournaments. So that might have influenced his decision a little bit. He's not afraid to just play what's best. He doesn't have like deck preferences. He'll just play whatever he thinks is going to give him the best chance of winning.
Yeah, it's usually a pretty good way to do it. 2 card pickups here from SuperJJ. Thanks to that Acolyte. Jiggler's going to live here, it looks like. Couple more card
Here's
draws. Yeah, no, it's getting into rage. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, does he really let this live? This is kind of weird.
usually when you get to this point as the Patron Warrior, where you've cycled a lot, where you've taken control of the board in the early game against Secret Paladin, it's hard for Secret Paladin to rebuild back up their board. But Nostam does have a lot of good stuff to reload with. He's got Lotheb this turn. He's got Mysterious Challenger leading into the next turn. And still, Keeper and Sludge Belcher. It's not like his plays after that are dead. So this could be looking pretty good for him.
Yeah, lots of good stuff, I feel like, is a bit of an understatement at the moment. Lotheb's going to take off about a fourth of JJ's life, and then the Mysterious Challenger is going to take off about the rest of it, unless he can find some answers to this. Now, does have Execute and Whirlwind and an Armorsmith in hand. So Nostam got to be a little bit careful with his attack. Looks like he's going to mop up this Armorsmith. Has Noble Sacrifice, Full Tree, Repentance down as well. Yeah, I think, honestly, the Repentance down here makes such a big difference in the way that SuperJJ can approach this game, because now he knows that Light's Justice is threatening the next thing. Armorsmith, I think, would have been a pretty decent one to play, but it really doesn't look that good when you know it's only got 1 health.
Yeah, he might be a little bit relieved. One of the things that you can run into in this matchup is where your opponent has Repentance up in their full Secret Tree, and you are just about to make Patrons. Because the Mysterious Challenger and Patriot turns in ideal scenarios usually line up the same way, where you have a Deathbite equipped, you're waiting to Patron, and then your opponent plays Repentance, and you have to ignore Mysterious Challenger for a turn and try and find a minion to play into the Repentance. But this is not going to be the case for SuperJJ. It is going to be a tough turn to navigate, though. With only 1 minion on board, he's not going to be able to clear both of these. So he's probably going to be hoping that he gets a decent Avenge here. It is going to go on the Lotheb.
Yeah, I think he needs that to fall on the Lotheb.
Yeah. So now he can execute this without having to use a different activator.
Yeah, it's still brutal, though. I mean, he's got to give something up to the Repentance.
Yeah. And it's going to be an Armorsmith, which is... I mean, it's okay, but that's armor gain that he's throwing out the window now. Both Armorsmiths are going to be gone once this is killed off. And Nostam has 10 damage on the board. And SuperJJ is already at 17 health. So that's also one of the weaknesses that this deck can run into, is that you're using weapons as removal in the early game. And Secret Paladin, if they don't miss turns, they're putting on a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I'm not sure that Nostam really has the liberty of just attacking face at the moment. These are some pretty hefty threats that are on board. So when he attacks the Armorsmith first, I'm curious if that means he doesn't want to give armor, or if that means he actually is going face. And he actually just is going face. He thinks the Sludge Belcher is enough to protect him. Sets SuperJJ down to 8.
Live free or die hard. Admirable.
Isn't that like a movie?
Yeah, it is.
Trailer motto or something?
Yeah, I also know that Nostam, that's how he lives his life.
That movie was about Nostam.
Yeah, you can tell by the painful look in his eyes that he's seen some stuff, man. He's seen some stuff.
I was gonna say focused, collected, painful. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, sorrow.
It's the internal struggle of playing Secret Paladin in a tournament.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. Play to win. Play whatever you want. There's no such thing as a scumbag strategy.
Reno Hunter.
Gosh, Michael Jordan, all you do is pull up 17-foot jumpers.
Unfair.
Stop getting base hits, Mickey Mantle.
Basketball's imbalanced anyway.
Whirlwind's going to come in here. And SuperJJ is going to try to keep his hopes alive with an unstable goal. But getting effectively a 0-0 from your piloted shredder usually doesn't feel very good.
Yeah. It can absorb damage. Yeah, but Nostam is going to take game number 1. No mercy here for Nostam. And SuperJJ is going to fall with the Patron Warrior. It seemed like he had a decent start, but sometimes a decent start isn't even good enough when you're going up against a Secret Paladin with a decent curve. And Nostam, shows why This deck is strong. Shows why all the players that have dropped out of the tournament because they 0-3'd out with Murloc Paladin. What deck they should have been playing all along. But yeah, 1-0 over to Nostam.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Murloc Paladin in this event, actually. I would say in a very disproportionate manner, Murloc Paladin was way more popular than Secret Paladin was.
Murloc Paladin right now, I think, is 5-13 from what we've seen on stream in games.
Have you been keeping track of this individually?
I looked at it, yeah. Not individually, but I looked at it. I might have counted wrong because I just went through really quickly and just skipped through.
It sounds about right. I mean, it lost a lot.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times they would go up 2-0 because they would bring two really good decks. They'd bring like Zoo and Druid and then 2-0, and then they'd 0-2 with Murloc Paladin and bring it back. So a lot of those times the player would still win the series, but still it hasn't performed well on an individual basis so far this tournament. Secret Paladin's performed pretty well though. And now we're going to move into this next game, which is Nostam throwing out the Zoo Warlock, and SuperJJ is going to throw a Patron Warrior. So a decent matchup for SuperJJ. And he does have the Fire War Axe start, which is what you're looking for in this matchup.
Yeah, not only does he have Fire War Axe start, but Nostam's got double Haunted Creeper. And double Haunted Creeper doesn't really put that much pressure on Warrior, while at the same time it really activates a lot of SuperJJ's best cards versus this deck. Acolyte of Pain, Unstable Ghoul, Whirlwind, Grim Patron, Deathbite. Bloodsail Corsair. It's hard not. It's really hard not to take that one, but he's going to save it for a Deathbite. I really like this. Very tempted to use it right now, but if he can just deal damage with the minions he's got, Implosion this turn, and then if SuperJJ has a Deathbite, being able to Bloodsail Corsair it to remove that Whirlwind effect going into a Patron turn, that's a big deal for him. So both these players actually off to pretty decent starts here. If Nostam hadn't picked up a Bloodsail Corsair and had Flame Imp, I would say he's at a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for here? Bit of a deficit. It's early in the morning. Disadvantage. There we go. Goodness gracious, what's wrong with me?
Is that a bit of a delectable?
He's gonna need a rebate.
He's in a bit of a dire strait.
He's not getting money for nothing, that's for sure. Implosion for 4 on a SuperJJ's Acolyte. Yeah, this is the kind of turn I'm thinking about too, where this happens and you go, oh, hey, it's Unstable Ghoul.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
I mean, it's not like Patron Warriors have like 10 cards in their deck that do 1 damage to all minions. All right, 3.
6.
Fine. Yeah.
Only 6 copies.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that Arborsmith just crafting those breastplates.
Yep. And Nostam not feeling too good about that one. And a Deathbite right on time, but Nostam was prepared for this exact situation.
Yeah, I wonder if you ever attack the Loatheb here.
I think you attack it all the time.
Trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, good play from SuperJJ. A lot of people I think would have attacked face in this situation. Oftentimes myself included. I get really caught up in sporking with this deck. Wisely trades.
Oh, fast, SuperJJs! Well, Nostam's got to decide here if he wants to play the Knife Juggler. Ooh, okay. I was going to say play the Knife Juggler first, but he's going to wait to play that. That is probably the smart choice. Knife Juggler can be a bit of a liability in this matchup.
Ooh. Man, SuperJJ is drawing really well this game. Seems like he's still struggling a bit. I'm curious what his worry is here. I mean, this seems like a really easy Acolyte Unstable Ghoul turn.
Yeah.
Okay, he was going to conclude on that.
He wanted to maybe wait and see if he needed to play the Unstable Ghoul with the Patron.
Yeah. And 2 copies of Whirlwind in the deck, though. I'm sure feels like you can pretty easily get to that. Power Overwhelming to take out Unstable Ghoul. Keep that Flame Imp alive. Which it looks like might be relevant. Ooh, there's a Whirlwind.
Best draw in the deck. Now, going in SuperJJ's next turn, he just got to decide if he wants to potentially wait to get a Battle Rage turn, but I don't think so. He's going to have a really good Whirlwind turn lined up, it seems. with Patron War 1 NRH.
Yeah, kind of depends on what's going on here with Nostam. I mean, maybe still something.
Depends if he trades.
Yeah, I mean, trading definitely actually makes a really big difference here. After I look at the board, it looks like trade.
Yeah. All right. Well, this War 1 isn't that big.
Well, now it activates the jugglers, so you have two times to hit one of your own Grim Patrons.
Yeah. Yep. And all right, this is going to be an automatic now. There's a chance that this can backfire, but it's a very low chance. Because once these Honda Creepers come out, then you're probably going to have a board full of patrons. He's going to have 4 base. And then, like you said, if these juggles hit one of the 2 health or the 3 health patrons, Nostam's going to be in a world of trouble.
I wonder if there's any merit to playing Grim Patron and like interraging your opponent's Haunted Creeper and then whirlwinding. Maybe not, though, because you kind of want your opponent to have the 1/1s on board, right?
Huh. No, I don't know. That's actually, I think that might be what he's thinking about here. That actually has a lot of merit. I think that's actually, no, because if both juggles go face, then you're screwed. And it's a 25% chance that both go face. You're way more likely to get a lot of more patrons if this happens, because you have 3 good targets on the board. So it's already a 60% chance for these juggles to hit something good.
Oh.
Okay.
There we go. I actually think that SuperJJ wants the 1/1s to be on board too. I think it's really influencing this a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this sets up some really awkward turns here for Nostam. So let's say he traded in Peddler to a 3/2, traded in Knife Juggler to a 3/3. Are we looking at double power overwhelming trade? Oh, that looks gross.
I don't think he has a choice, though. You can play the long sort of grindy game against Patron and just hope that they draw dead. Because there are a lot of draws in the Patron's deck that are just dead. They don't have cards that are good by themselves. If they top deck an Interrage, a lot of times it just spells the end.
TJ, I just watched 15 damage trade into minions. Do you have any idea how painful this is to watch for me?
That play just gave me a hernia.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nostam. Deathspite picked up for SuperJJ. That's going to be Deathspite piloted Shredder versus an Imp Gang boss. And 2 Battle Rages in SuperJJ's hand. This is looking fantastic for him. This is usually what ends up happening if your opponent has to put, 15 damage into your Grim Patrons.
Yeah, it feels like every turn JJ has just drawn, like, the card that he needs at that moment. He does have double Battle Rage, but, oh, man. And
Why
that's
not?
just game perfect lethal!
Just why not?
My thanks!
Yeah, JJ giving the thanks.
That's the second time on stream that we've seen SuperJJ top deck Grom for exact lethal in the last 2 days. Nuts. All planned.
1 game apiece.
Yeah.
This one isn't like too unexpected. If the patron gets a decent draw,
No, not at all.
Zoo's usually sitting in pretty bad shape. But I think Nostam actually, he came really close to turning the corner there for a second. But right in that Grim Patron turn, if he just gets some lucky juggles instead, I think he can win that game. I think he can win it pretty easily. Like, he would have kept a Knife Juggler on board that game instead. And I wonder if that changes anything. I mean, not in that pan out exactly, no, but like in the long term, does that change the way things work? And I think it does a lot.
It could have. But I think Nostam going up against Patron Warrior with 2 unfavored decks and coming out on top with one of them is pretty good. Going even in that scenario with 1 game apiece, 1 win apiece, he's going to be pretty happy about. But Nostam might struggle to find a win with Zoo against SuperJJ's lineup. It seems like his lineup is targeted at Zoo and potentially Secret Paladin. We talked about yesterday how some of these more known players, that would be the strategy for them to go for, is to play the decks that counter decks that maybe lesser known or lesser practiced players usually play in opens. It just so happens that Nostam is a known player who also happens to play the decks that lesser known players and less practiced players usually play in tournaments. Zoo, Secret Paladin, Druid, Aggro Shaman, those types of decks. So SuperJJ's strategy seems to do well.
Yep, it's going to be double backstep, double sprint. Not quite the hand you're looking forward to. These cards good to him, bad. Meanwhile, Flame Imp, Knife Juggler, Nerubinate, Power Overwhelming, Dr. Boom for Nostam. I'm feeling like Nostam has a pretty darn good chance of winning this game with the way that SuperJJ's hand is panned out. Lest he draws a preparation very soon.
Yeah, he's gonna need to get those sprints out. And Blade Flurry is gonna help if he draws into a weapon buff. It's one of the ways that you can just pretty much shut the Zoo player out of the game. But
Yeah,
Nostam's still playing on curve, drawing pretty well. Dr. Boom is one of the banes of Rogue. I mean, it's one of the banes of maybe anything.
Yeah.
Anything in the game. But Rogue
right
struggles the most, yeah.
Yeah, Rogue definitely can struggle a lot against this card. But something that it's really going to cause a struggle because of is SuperJJ having to use removal on a lot of these early game minions. And so what that's going to end up doing is when Dr. Boom actually comes down, he's just really not going to have that much action left for it. And that's one of the reasons why it's so good versus Rogue, is because their removal is, they have a lot of it, but they couple it to get tempo with other things. So like it'll be Violet Teacher and then like Backstab and Eviscerate, or Violet Teacher Preparation Sap, or have a Sludge Belcher on board, sap something, play a minion. You know, you're kind of temporarily dealing with the problem, and then trying to use the time you get from that to actually handle things. SuperJJ is just going to backstab Eviscerate this Nerubian Egg here, and I can't really blame him for this. You know, with the way his hand is constructed, he's going to need time to stay alive, and he knows that if Nerubian Egg ends up being a problem, he's going to have to kill it somehow. So do it now, roll into Sludge Belcher, hope you get something on turn 6, and then have turn 7 sprint, and maybe have enough to recover the game.
And now, with both backstabs gone, Nostam's like, wow, my Knife Juggler's going to get in some work here. At the moment, SuperJJ just has a Belcher to play. And that's what he's going to do, but I don't know if this is going to do too much. With Power Overwhelming, Nostam has some really clean clears here with lots of solid juggles that are going to get in some base damage. So, right now, it's looking like it's going to be oil, Tinker Sharpster oil, or bust for SuperJJ.
It's looking pretty darn grim at this point. It's a full 7 minion board, 2 more juggles coming to face. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points of damage he's staring down. Fan of Knives. It's actually pretty good here because the M-Gang bosses can't spawn any minions on the full board.
Yeah. And Blade Flurry at least takes out the Knife Juggler, but that doesn't seem in the Voidwalker, but it would leave 2 more imps on the board, so maybe just a second Fan of Knives. Blade Flurry is going to have a lot more use.
Yeah, this one feels bad. So this is going to be 2 points damage to the Juggler. The Juggler will shoot during the summons before it dies.
Dagger's going to pick up. There's a prep.
That prep's, I think, a little bit too late here.
He could prep Blade. No, that'd be... He needs those preps for the sprints next turn.
Yeah. The sprint, 2 sprints coming into opening hand, I think was just too brutal this game. Yeah, Nostam needs to coin this Dr. Boom here. I don't think he was thinking about that Gormok. But this is just pretty much lights out at this point. SuperJJ is just too low on life.
Yeah. And these are one of those rogue hands where even going up against a favorable matchup, if you have double sprints in your opening hand, you're going to be hard pressed to find a way to win in most scenarios. It's a completely dead card until at the very earliest turn 4, which is not what you can afford. And SuperJJ had to use a lot of resources on those early minions that were super threatening. And that Knife Juggler ended up doing, like 12 damage by itself with 1 attack plus a million juggles.
I mean, using Fan of Knives into M-King boss does not feel very good. That's for sure.
Not at all. SuperJJ can re-dagger, attack with his dagger into the Imp Gang boss, Blade Flurry, and then sap the Dr. Boom. But he takes... It's a full clear, and he takes damage from Boom bots, but he gets initiative.
Yeah, sort of. The Dr. Boom definitely comes back down if you sap it. That's really the issue here. He's going to try his damnedest.
Yeah.
No one can fault him for that. But at the end of the day, I think this is just going to be too little too late.
There's still a possibility, but yeah. Nostam can just replay the Dr. Boom. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, this is really tough. I mean, we're talking literal miracle needs to happen right now if SuperJJ is going to win this game.
Needs a 4-mana Gadgetzan Auctioneer plus 5 more preps.
And then
we
5
can get
more
there.
Eviscerates. Yeah, not going to happen this game. Nostam takes 2-1 lead over SuperJJ, who is going to be left with Rogue and Mage to handle the Druid from Nostam. So I think the Rogue actually could match up really well right here. The Mage, on the other hand, JJ was playing Freeze Mage, if I recall correctly. And that matchup, it feels like it's so bad when you're playing it against Druid. Because they just kind of have threat after threat after threat, and then build to that big point where you kind of have to look at your hand and go, well, can I kill him? And if the answer is no, you usually end up losing the game. But there are Darnassus Aspirants here in Nostam's build, and I know that actually is pretty ungood versus Rogue, I guess is the word for it.
Ungood. Yep. Hey, I heard Dr. Boom's pretty good against Rogue.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can play like on turn 5 or something with like Innervate or whatever, and then it deals like 1 billion damage. It's okay.
Yeah, or whatever, just throw it out there.
Yeah, it's just such a powerful card. I mean, for all the reasons that we saw last game, a lot of ways to handle things temporarily.
Oh,
sort of the story. Oh, all right, that's why he's playing Darnassus Aspirant.
Darnassus Aspirant.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And Nostam just goes for it. He says, you know what, if you got sap, I don't even really care. Wow, right off the top for SuperJJ. Lotheb gets burned as well. That's a pretty huge turn for him. And Nostam is stranded on turn 4.
Oh no, that might just be the nail in the coffin, and SuperJJ got incredibly fortunate that he ripped that sap off the top, because if he didn't, it probably would have been lights out. So that is the third time the series that SuperJJ has had some help from above, and Nostam now has to decide, what direction do I go in? If I play Fel Reaver, I mean, he could clear it off and burn a good portion of my deck, most likely. And when you fall behind as Aggro Druid, it can be pretty tough sometimes to sort of fight your way back. You rely on these early minions. You rely on sort of cheating out big, unfair stuff really early on in the game. And he did that with Fel Reaver, but it just got shut down.
Yeah, just undone a little bit here. I mean, I don't know if there's like a route to victory here that involves playing around anything at this point. And Nostam kind of agrees. He's just going to play Fel Reaver and hope this works out. SuperJJ.
All right. Let's burn his deck.
SuperJJ may be never lucky when it comes to ladder, but this series he's been quite fortunate.
All right, so right now, SuperJJ can make a 10-10 Van Cleave and burn 15 cards.
Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting a 8-8 Van Cleave.
The coin from Tomb Pillager.
Ah, good. That's a really good spot.
If he wanted to, but it looks like he's just gonna do it this way.
Yeah, this trade is pretty. Yeah, I mean it's fine. I mean the burns are largely irrelevant anyway.
Yeah.
The major concern is taking care of the Fel Reaver in an effective manner, and then also getting a counterattack going.
Yeah. So he's going to settle for an 8-8, but he makes a much cleaner trade in doing so. And pretty good. Pretty good.
It's not a bad pickup. It looks like this is going to lead with Fan of Knives here.
The thing is, it's going to be a little bit of a weird trade into the Druid of the Claw. If he does this, he can Deadly Poison to clear it off, but like Deadly Poison to clear it off and then Fan of Knives, he might just evaluate after the Fan of Knives draw because he's still missing 1 damage onto this Druid of the Claw.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Eviscerate or Poison is actually better. They both kind of represent the same amount of damage, but one of them influences Blade Flurry, where the other one is influenced by Azure Drake next turn. I'm guessing because he drew the Azure Drake, that the Deadly Poison here is less valuable than the Eviscerate. This also allows him to dagger up again.
Yeah. And, a casual hit for 8.
Yeah, just a casual Van Cleef attack. This is, happens every day.
Yeah, Nostam does have Dr. Boom, but looks like he is just going to force a nature living roots to clear this off. He wants to try and protect his Dr. Boom as much as possible. Yeah. And he's going to hope that JJ is going to whiff on this next turn, or not have a way to deal with Dr. Boom when he throws it on the board. So a lot of resources used, but Nostam realizes that leaving that thing up is just not going to be the winning play in this game.
Yeah, but it's going to be Azure Drake. Doesn't really care for the swipe this turn. Blade Flurry pickup. We're looking at some major damage potential coming in the next couple turns. Nostam's best draw actually might be Piloted Shredder here. That one's so scary. So just Dr. Boom it is. Let's go. And SuperJJ looks like he's going to be able to handle this pretty nicely.
Oh, yeah. Tinker Sharp Soil, Eviscerate, plus Blade Flurry.
Is that the order you want to do it in?
Is it Metric Butt Ton?
You Eviscerate, Tinker Sharp Soil Oil, attack for 7 face, attack for 4 to face, Blade Flurry for 5.
Yeah, I suppose it do.
Or 4. Yeah, it's for 5, rather.
Yeah.
Do you Eviscerate face? Do you just have lethal this turn? So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He's got 19 damage this turn. He can't combo the Eviscerate and the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil. So I guess at that point you can just sap, which buys you the time to combo the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil and the Eviscerate, and you just do that instead and kill him in 2 turns. So 2-turn lethal is going to be way more than enough to start getting this game over with. 3, 4, 5. Booyakasha.
So this turn, Nostam has to armor up. Nope, he's dead no matter what.
Yeah, Blade Flurry for...
Blade Flurry for 4, SIJ for 2, and then a Redagger up and a smack to the face for a total of 7 damage. So we'll see what Nostam's going to feel like he needs to do here. I suppose evaluate with Boombots is the choice. He does have quite a bit of damage of his own in his hand, but just not enough. Ooh.
Natural Predator of Azure Drake really hasn't been doing too well lately.
Yeah.
Boombot, that is. Yep, so that's going to wrap this game up. SuperJJ is going to force a game number 5 here, taking Rogue versus Aggro Druid. And Aggro Druid being Nostam's last build, I'm curious if this is going to fend off versus Freeze Mage better than a normal Druid would. Fel Reaver can be a very scary minion to play against Freeze Mage. I have been there before.
Yeah.
Ice Lance is pretty darn good versus that card.
The thing is, the rest of the cards in Aggro Druid do incredibly well against Freeze Mage. So they have a lot more sticky minions than regular Druid does. They have sort of just as much big stuff that's hard to remove. And they still have all the pieces that make this matchup good in general. I guess one thing that they're sometimes missing, Ancient of Lore. Sometimes that's not in aggro druid lists, depending how aggro you want to be. And also does hit the Innervate, but doesn't want to get it out. Doesn't want to get something out there right away.
Oh gosh, the Fel Reaver is so terrifying to look at, because I'm curious if that's on his mind. Like, is Fel Reaver something that he's willing to play versus Freeze Mage right now?
I don't know. This game, we will get a reasonable estimation of the size of Nostam's cojones.
Well, this is going to take this one slow. I mean, this was a pretty easy turn for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, SuperJJ, knowing that this is aggro, I think he's actually correct to play the Doomsayer so early here, just to try to offset the tempo. You know, typically the way you're going to lose to this aggro deck is that just the game snowballs. So when that happens, you find yourself in a really bad spot. He is going to go for this Fel Reaver now, and this is going to get potentially really punished. SuperJJ's got a long time to stall this out, And if he burns away that entire deck, Nostam is going to be hurting.
He's got Ice Lance 2 turns in a row. He's got plenty of turns to draw into even more freeze effects. Nostam needs a Keeper of the Grove right now if he wants to not potentially have his entire deck burned away. Well, there's the second Fel Reaver gone. So we still haven't seen a Keeper of the Grove gone just yet. But Lotheb, that's a big draw. There's a Keeper in the second Force of Nature.
That's a lot of critical burns.
Oh, man. He still has Saboteurs left.
Now, the thing about it is, once all this gets burned, SuperJJ still does need to clean it up. He cannot just burn the cards and then let that be the win condition, because he's got to kill Nostam afterwards, too, and not die in the process. Oh, jeez. That Blizzard is really strong right now.
Yeah.
There's 3 more cards getting burned. Irrelevant. Leopardum's okay. Savage Roar gets burned. Only one of those left in the deck. Second Keeper gets burned. Second Savage Roar gets burned.
All right, this game is... I don't want to call it early, but this game is all but over.
Oh, that's ugly.
He's got no damage from hand, besides from a 2 damage Druid to the Saber. And he's just going to empty his hand, but, oh man, that is just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, now again,
what a brutal way to end.
SuperJJ does have to kill Nostam still. Like, Nostam still does have an 8/8 on board.
He's got a million turns. Nostam, he could just fatigue him. Fatigue
is going to be 1 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage. Nostam's turns are going to be 8/8/8 if SuperJJ doesn't handle it. So Blizzard freezes this out another turn, but Mounted Raptor's dropping a minion. There's still a 4/2 on board. There's still a 2/1. And he's not burning the rest of his cards this turn. So we add 2 more minions to this.
You can just torch next turn. Yeah, I mean, there's still a definite possibility, but there are so many great draws in SuperJJ's deck. He even has an Arcane Intellect, like a Frostbolt even would be okay. And Nostam throws out the well played, and he's still got a lot of health to get through, and he doesn't have Savage Roar to increase the damage of this board. We'll see what SuperJJ is going to pick up. Fireball plus Torch takes a lot of damage off the board. We'll see if he wants to Arcane Intellect first, or if he's not afraid of that 4 damage, but okay, he's out of cards anyway, so it didn't matter the ordering. So Nostam has to win with this board.
Yeah, which at this point it may be impossible. I mean, ripping the Fireball for JJ, that was kind of like one of the cards he needed. Now he had a lot of outs to do it. Frost Nova would have been good. Second Blizzard would have been good. Flame Strike would have been good. But he needed to have it that turn. So down to 13, SuperJJ can Torch, use Ping, and use Mad Scientist after this. And then he's going to drop to 8/7. Yeah, second Mad Scientist draw I think is going to lock this up as well. Pretty much any gas. I mean, plus he can Alex Draza himself next turn. So all he has to do is not die this turn, and then he wins the game.
Which he has all of the information on the board at the moment. It is absolutely impossible for him to die.
Yeah. So he shrugs. Hey, what can you do? Awesome. Yeah. That's the price you can pay with Fel Reaver. Sometimes it comes with that iron price.
Yeah.
Close game, but I mean, look at that. If that Savage Roar had been drawn on one of those turns, like say the Savage Roar was drawn instead of burned, I think that Nostam actually might have won this game.
Yeah, but as soon as you saw like both Keepers and both Savage Roars, both combos completely gone, those are the cards that help you get through. Those are the cards that, unlock your Fel Reaver to not only stop burning your cards, but also to unfreeze and get you that 8 damage. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, Nostam's run ends there, but an impressive run from SuperJJ. He's going to move on to the round of 8, and I believe that means he has secured both Championship Tour points and prize money.
Yeah, I mean, impressive run for both these guys, honestly. I mean, to come through an over 128 player bracket in single elimination, does the performances like that, you rack up enough of them, people are going to pay attention to you. It can't be the same guy making it to those top tables every single time just because he's really lucky. It's just not the way the world works. So, sad to see Nostam go out. Both these guys are great players. I think either of them are a threat to take the tournaments they enter. Obviously, anyone's a threat to take a tournament. What I mean is, if I had to put together a list of players, these are likely to be included in the list of players that I would use. But SuperJJ, just keeping his head cool. He's a very emotional guy at times. Like he really will show his emotions during his play as well. Happy to see him working on that. And if he keeps his cool, SuperJJ is one of the most dangerous players in the world. Period. So looking forward to seeing what he can bring to this top 8. Maybe he can take this one home.
Yeah, so I got the prize breakdown here. Actually, top 32 secures money, but top 8 is where the money starts to really add up. Everybody in the top 32, so that's 17 through 32, gets $50. 9 through 16 gets $100. Top 8, so that's 5th through 8th, gets $250 plus 2 championship tour points. So JJ's going to secure at least 2. 3rd, 4th is $700 plus 5 Hearthstone championship tour points. 2nd is $2,000 and 10 HCT points, and then 1st is $4,000 and 15 HCT points. So SuperJJ starting to get up there, secured more money, securing those points. So we'll see. Nostam, though, top 16, not a finish to be too disappointed with. Next matchup, though, is going to be another really great one. It's going to be Firebat versus Amnesiac. So two former teammates, 2 players that are considered some of the best that North America has to offer, or even that the world has to offer. So really looking forward to that one. Make sure you guys head over to the website during the break, sign up to win your Cyberpower Gamer Extreme 1000 PC, and also sign up for the Open that's going to take place next week on April 30th, the 2016 One Nation Gamers Circuit Open that takes place next week if you want to compete. Of course, Standard comes out this week, so that'll be one of the first Open tournaments, the first prize pool tournaments that's going to be using Standard. So make sure you guys sign up for that and participate. But we are going to have to go to a quick break. Don't go anywhere, guys. More Hearthstone major action from PAX East continues right after this.